Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to check out what usually goes in my backpack when we have in-person lab days at school. If we haven't met yet, my name is Jin. I'm a second year DPT student and I post every week on just about anything related to physical therapy. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing and liking this video. Alright, so we'll start with the backpack itself. This is a backpack that our school provided us with. Well, I'm sure we paid it with our tuition, but overall it's a pretty solid backpack. It has a lot of pockets, front 2 pockets and then pocket at the bottom, and it holds 2 water bottles, and it has my name tag too, so can't ask for more. So one thing that I like having in my backpack all the time is my iPad. I've only had it for 2 weeks now. I got it for my birthday this year. Shout out to my sister who got it for me. But the iPad is turning out to be one of those things where you don't really know how useful it is until you actually start using it. I definitely plan on doing a whole video on how exactly I use it for school and what kind of apps I use to study, but for now I'm just gonna say I use it to take notes and study. I use GoodNotes 5 to take notes directly on the PowerPoint slide during lecture. It's super easy because I just get to write whatever I want to and draw whatever, which is a huge change from taking notes on a laptop. But what I do after the lecture when I want to review that lecture is I just pull up the study guide that I have, and then now I can just refer back to the notes that I used to take notes in class and go back and forth. I also use it to access PDF versions of our lab handouts during labs in school, because then it's so much easier to access them and I don't have to carry thick loads of lab handouts. Alright, next up we got goniometers. We use goniometers to measure our patient's range of motion and quantify them so we can document their range at specific joints later on. But this is the biggest goniometer that we have. We use it for bigger joints like the hip or the knee or the shoulder, and then this is one size down. We use this one to measure patients' range of motion at their wrists or their ankles depending on the patient's body size. And then finally we have this metal one. This one's used for the finger range of motion. So it goes like this. They all fit pretty nicely in the front pocket, and we use goniometers all the time, regardless of what class we're taking, musculoskeletal, neuromuscular. So it comes in very handy, so I tend to keep them in my front pocket all the time. Alright, next we have our stethoscope. This was used a lot in medical issues class, where we used it to listen to the heart and lung sounds of our patients that are typically in an acute condition, but we also used it a lot in our first year practicing manual measurements of blood pressure. So we would have the blood pressure cuff around the patient and then use the stethoscope to listen to the sound. But I know there's a lot of hospitals and outpatient clinics that use the automatic machines to measure blood pressure, but I guess it doesn't hurt to know how to do it manually. So next up, we have a Gait belt. So this is a belt that we can use if we are dressed in business casual and we forgot our, no, I'm just kidding. This is a Gait belt that we use for our safety and our patient safety. Of course, it depends on what kind of patient population you're working with, but if you're working with a D1 athlete that is rehabbing from ACL injury, you probably won't need this. However, if you're working with an elderly patient that has balance deficits and you want to kind of challenge their balance, this would be a really good idea. So you just put it around the patient's waist, and at first I kind of had trouble learning how to put this on properly while I'm in the middle of working with a patient, because I don't think it's the most effective design, but you basically put it through the crocodile teeth and then it goes through the loop and then you just tighten it. Okay, so next we have our Reflex hammer and our stopwatch. So I'm sure you guys have seen this before. We use it to see if there's any neurologic involvement in patient's diagnosis, or if there's any progression or regression of that neurodiagnosis once we're re-evaluating the patient. So you can use it for patella reflex, biceps or triceps, Achilles, anywhere in the body that you can test to see if there's any nerve damage. So there's a reflex hammer. And then here's a stopwatch. We use the stopwatch for a lot of things, surprisingly. Any balance tests like Berg balance test, or any functional mobility tests like timed up and go. We use it to time our patient's mobility. I like using my watch because it's really handy. I don't have to use any of my fingers or hands for pressing on the buttons, but I have it in my backpack just in case. Alright, next up we have our clipboard. It comes in really handy when you have to review the patient's chart, or you have to write anything in lab, because you don't have to write on a soft surface. You have this to write on, so it's always nice to have one. Alright, so we're getting to the bottom of my backpack here. I have my face mask here. We're required to wear this during our labs because we work super close to our classmates and friends. So there we go. And then I have, well, this is more personal items, but I have 2 water bottles here. One for coffee and one for water. It comes in handy to have 2 pockets for bottles. And now it's just everything in my front pocket, my front pocket, I guess. My Axe spray for when I used to go to the gym before class. This is actually expired, but it just goes on to tell you guys how long the gym's been closed, I guess. Just a couple pens and highlighters, more highlighters. Burt's Bees lip balm for when my lips get dry in the winter times. Emergency earphones. I rarely use it, but I have it just in case. A lock for my locker. Another lock for my locker. And that's it. That's everything. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful if you are planning on going to PT school, or if you're already a PT student like myself. I hope it was fun to see what kind of items I have in my bag. And thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.